Okay, now for our next session, to brief us on coding standards and technologies, I would like to invite Ishara Madushanka, who is a third year software engineering undergraduate at SLIIT and an intern software engineer at Syngenta. So, Ishara, this credit is all yours.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, it's visible.
Uh, Thank you, Jitmi. And good evening, everyone. And in this section, I'm going to cover technologies, code quality ethics, and version control for your IT project. So, okay, I'm Ishara Madushanka, and I'm currently a third year undergraduate and also following software engineering degree program. So, in this session, I have divided it into 5 parts. Okay, I'm going to cover frameworks and libraries, how to select a tech stack for your project, and what are the quality ethics and best practices to write codes, and also brief introduction about testing and version control for your project. So, because in our past sessions, we have fully covered these testing and version control parts. So you can refer those videos, and I'll provide some links after the end of this session. And okay. First, I'm going to talk about frameworks and libraries. Like, what is a framework? Right? Framework is a pre-built, reusable set of code libraries and tools that provides a structured way to develop software applications. So they serve as a foundation of which developers can build software programs for a specific platforms, like whether it's a web application, a mobile application, or a desktop application. And also frameworks are typically associated with a specific programming language, like Next.js from JavaScript and Spring Boot from Java and Flask from Python, likewise. So, and these frameworks has different sort of tasks and services, right? And so I'm not diving deep to these topics, and I provide some real world examples for you to get a rough idea about framework. So imagine you want to build a house, right? You have two options. Either you can start from scratch, like doing all the things by yourself, like planning architecture, calculate the dimensions, and figure out the materials need all by yourself. Okay, that's your first option. And also, as the second option, you can use construction framework. So you will get a pre-built structure with the predefined layouts and basic systems in place. So you can focus on customizing the house, right? You don't worry about the like complex things like planning architectures, calculate dimensions. They all will cover with the framework. So this is same as software frameworks. Without a framework, you'd have to start from the scratch. Like you have to handle all aspects of development. Like setting up servers, managing data, and creating user interfaces. So all these things you have to do with your own, right? So, but with a framework, you don't have to worry these basic functionalities. So it will save your time and avoid the complexity of your task. So also you don't have to worry about those complex things like setting up servers, managing data. You can give your full effort for making your application unique. Okay, so that's how framework works. And also there's thing called like libraries. So in the context of software development, these are collection of pre-written codes and functions that can be reused by applications, right? So I have provided you some examples like React library from JavaScript and Pandas from Python. And so there are difference between frameworks and libraries. So also framework calls you and you don't have control with them, right? So, but you can call libraries. So you have control with the libraries other than frameworks. So I think this is a bit complicated, and I'll explain this with real world example, and it's like cooking in your own kitchen and cooking in a kitchen competition. So imagine if you are cooking in your own kitchen, like in first image. So and you have collection of individual kitchen tools and ingredients. So these tools and ingredients are like library, right? So you can decide when and how to use these tools. Like you can choose your own dish. You can create anything. Like you can create your own dish and you can choose anything you want. Right? So with you can't do with the you can't do those things with framework. It's like kitchen cooking competition. So in a cooking competition, you have predefined kitchen setup and with a specific station with rules. So you need to follow this structure of the competition. So also with the library, you can you call the functions and you have full control. So with the framework, you don't have much control like libraries. So I think you got my points, and also most of you have a question like why do we use frameworks, right? So like why can't we use same HTML, CSS, JS like IWT project? So the thing is now you are getting ready to the industry, right? So you must familiar with these frameworks. Like in industry, not most of the time, like every time you have to work with these frameworks. So as the most important point, by using framework, you can save time and reduce errors, right? These are pre-built and pre-written codes by experts, so it has zero amount of errors. So using framework, you can save your time and also reduce the risk of errors. Also, you can avoid duplication and repetition of codes, right? And also scalability and reusability. So in your IWT, you had many files and thousands lines of codes. So, but with the framework, you can do same thing with few lines of codes and lesser amount of files, right? As a example, if you are using React, it has a thing called component. Okay, you can reuse these components, right? So in here, I have used think it's right. I have used sorry one component I have used for create these all cards, and you can see this has only 114 lines of codes, right? So that's what I'm talking about. You can reuse these component always. You can reuse things, right? So also you can write more secure codes and easy testing and debugging, and also easy maintenance and deployment, right? And the next part is technology stack, right? Uh, so when you are building an application, you need to consider whole required scenarios. So you have to consider browser, which are for desktop or mobile, and also programming language and frameworks, database, web servers, and also operating system. So each of these part will do a different sort of functionalities for your application, right? So you need to clearly understand the technology requirement and tech stack for your application. So also you can choose between these frameworks and libraries. So moving into frameworks and technologies, there are many frameworks and JavaScript frameworks and libraries for front end like React library, uh, Angular, Vue, Next.js frameworks, and also for backend, you can use JavaScript frameworks like Nest.js or Express.js, which are built on top of the Node.js environment, right? And C# framework like .NET. And if you are planning to use Java-based framework for your application, you can use Spring Boot, right? Also, you can use Laravel, which is based on PHP, right? So most tech stack are combination of front end and back end technologies. So for your full stack app, there are popular tech stack like MERN and Mean from JavaScript. So all these techs use MongoDB as their database, and Express framework, and also Node environment for backend. And but other than that, there are most powerful full stack tech in industry, right? So I'm currently working on Next.js and Nest.js project with PostgreSQL. So it's a very powerful combination, and also you can use Angular .NET with MySQL, also Angular Spring Boot with MySQL, and also if you are using Spring Boot, it will easy to learn for you, right? So you have done a JSP servlet project as in your last year, last semester Java project. So, and you have good Java knowledge. So it will be easy to learn Spring Boot than other frameworks. So also Spring Boot is used in many companies these days. So it's a top framework, and so it will be a good chance to add Spring Boot for your CV and get a chance to work in a company, right? And other one is Next.js. You can use Next.js for front end, which is which used TypeScript as its language. Okay, so it built on top of the React, and it provides unique features like server-side rendering, right? So you can use these combinations for your tech, right? As your tech stack. Also, you can try these points when you try to choose tech stack, right? If your project has many input and output, you can go JavaScript frameworks like React, Angular, or Vue. Okay, and also if you are looking for scalability, you can go for Django, Spring, or Ruby. And also if you are building real-time app, you can use Node.js environment. So Node.js is best for real-time application because it's event-driven and an unblocking architecture, right? So because I think you know JavaScript is a single-threaded language, so it will be huge benefit when if you can use real-time Node.js in a real-time application. So you can get these things, but this is not 100% guaranteed, right? Because technologies depend on various factors like including project-specific requirements and team expertise. So you need to listen to your team, right? So you must get everyone's idea and choose the best tech for your project and complete your work, right? And also, as Sayura mentioned earlier, like this is one of your modules. Okay, this is one of your modules. So you have to focus on other modules. So don't get complex this project. So choose a correct tech stack, right? Analyze your requirements, and like other things Sayura mentioned earlier is you have limited time for this project, right? You have to give your best shot with this. So also don't try to remember things in these frameworks, right? This is important. And also don't depend on one framework. So many good developers don't remember things, right? They use documentation for related part. As Shivani Akka said, many good developers use documentation for the related part. But also they know how things work. How and where do they need to things apply. So that's what you need to get from ITP, right? So choosing a tech stack for this project and get the knowledge like how these things works, how do I use them. So also try to understand the architecture of these things. Like someone can say, I know React and I don't need to learn JavaScript and I can do anything with this. Okay, but that's not true. Sometimes he can do things like creating nice UIs with React. Okay, but programming is way more than that, right? You must consider each and every scenario to give your best shot, right? You must know how the core works. Like first learn the related language and its architecture, like how things work. Like as example, in JavaScript, there's a scenario called hoisting. Okay, so you must know how this works, how functions work, right? So what are the arrow functions and what are the limitations of arrow functions, right? What are the ES6 features? And also for Java, what is object-oriented programming? What is a Java virtual machine? How to do the exception handling and how object reference. These are the core concepts, right? So I think these basic things you have learned in your last semester. So add these things with your project. And if you are using these techniques, you will definitely be a good full stack developer. Okay, and also you have knowledge and you know the concepts, and you can easily pass the interviews. So being a developer is not about coding, right? It's about how you understand things and apply your knowledge to the scenarios. So the other thing is, I think Shivanya mentioned this. Always refer the documentation. Okay, don't always use YouTube videos. So don't depend. You don't depend on videos. Okay, like you must always refer the documentation. So try to learn from your own. If you have any error, you can just Google it, and you have many discussions like Stack Overflow, right? You have ChatGPT, okay, but I'm not recommending ChatGPT. Sometimes it gives wrong information, okay? So you can learn things from that, and but not depend on the answers given by ChatGPT, right? Fix any error on your own, right? And also you can use these tools and text for your ITP project. You can use Postman for your backend API testing, and also you can use GitHub for integrate to your project. And also, if you are using JavaScript-based framework, you need to use package managers to handle dependencies as uh, npm or yarn, right? And for additional, you can use White to your build process and can improve your performance and deployment for your application. And also you can use Heroku or Render for backend hosting, and also Netlify or Vercel for front-end hosting. And as IDE, you can use VS Code, IntelliJ, or WebStorm. So, okay, the other thing is you must choose a good CSS framework, right? This is one of the important points. Right? Your project, you can choose either Tailwind CSS or Bootstrap for your as a framework, right? So, but remember this: don't choose these both in a single project. Like most of the time, it will be a huge disaster when you try to integrate to a project, right? In my batch, there was a group and who did Bootstrap and Tailwind in same project. So, and when they try to integrate the project, one CSS framework override the other one, right? So they still don't have a fully integrated IT project because of this poor choice of CSS framework, right? Also, it will reduce your marks. So use either Tailwind or Bootstrap, and but don't use both of them in the same project, right? Also, talking about Tailwind, it's an upcoming framework which is more lightweight and customizable than Bootstrap. And also, uh, like going with Tailwind CSS, you can do the designs on your own than Bootstrap, right? You can customize even buttons, color, size, border radius, right? Everything you can customize everything with Tailwind CSS. So most of the companies are using Tailwind as their CSS framework, and also you can use component libraries like Material UI or and design uh, like for your component library to add buttons, forms, okay, and even can add real-time validations with this component. Like I'll show you, and like this, right in here. Uh, you can see the real-time validations when you enter some emails for this part, and also you can use this component library. This is and design, and you can use these component libraries to add these validations and interact uh, to give get a better UI, right? So this is the most important part in this session. So code quality ethics and best practices, right? So you must use these things as possible. Like in your ITP, you must use these things as possible, right? So as a good programmer, you must always write code clearly and reusable, readable, right? So this means writing code in a way that is logical, clear, and organized. So it should be as simple as possible, right? So good practices include using meaningful variables and function names. So you must follow a consistent coding style, right? So, and structure in the code, so it will make it easy to programmer to understand and maintain the code. So imagine you are coding like this, right? So the first one, right? But after a week, it's impossible to modify the code even for you. So always code like this example, like second one, right? Also maintain a good consistent coding style. You can use tools like ESLint for JavaScript, Pepper for Python. Okay. Also, you can use the extension called Prettier, Prettier, Prettier. So you can use that extension to format and style your code, right? And the thing is, there's a saying that always code as if the guy who ends up maintaining your code will be a violent psychopath who knows where you live, right? So if you code like this, he will definitely come for you, right? So always maintain a good, clear and readable coding style like this. Okay. So this is the first point. And also avoid magic numbers, right? So always define it with a meaningful variable. Imagine you want to change the value, right? Like if you code like this, if you magic numbers, if you used in 50 other places, so if you want to change the value, you have to change all those 50 places one by one, right? So that's a bit complicated, right? So but if you use meaningful global variable like this, so you have only need to change the value of the variable, so others will automatically get replaced, right? Also the other thing is performance efficiency, and efficient code uses system resources wisely, and this means optimizing algorithms, right? You can optimize algorithms for speed and reduce memory usage, and your software must run smoothly. So as in the example, I had to create an 3D algorithm to pack product to a box, right? So I created this, and if you can see, you will see these for loops, right? So my algorithm works till 100 products, no timeouts within response time, right? If but if I input products more than 100, the reply time was high and the request always timeout, right? So it's because of these for loops, right? The whole code performance get down. So uh, always try to remove unnecessary loops. Okay, so you will learn the reason in your upcoming module called data structures and algorithm. So for now, try to avoid unnecessary loops when you are coding, right? It will speed up your process. And this one is the other important thing. So if you are using React, you will have to definitely use this hook, like called use effect hook. Okay, this will manage component mounting. So this has an array called this one, right? This one called dependency array, right? So if you add the wrong variable to this array, you will end up with infinite backend requests. So it will stuck to your computer for a while, and it will definitely cause for memory problems. And so you must choose wisely to use this hook, and must like you must select carefully. You must select variables carefully for this array. Okay, so otherwise your website speed and efficiency will drop down. So and also try to do things with lesser database calls. Like don't send multiple calls to database for some same and similar tasks, right? So if you are sending more database calls, it will reduce your system's performance. Like assume 1 db call take 4 kb of memory, right? And if you are sending 5 another calls to do the same task, so it will consume more memory for nothing, right? So in this image, this is checking the coupon code in the backend by using user email, entered coupon code, and availability of coupon. So I have joined 3 tables together and used one backend call, one DB call to get the data. And if I use 3 different calls to check this with 3 tables, right? Same task, no? So these 3 conditions consume more time and resources. Okay, it will reduce the performance of your code. So always try to avoid unnecessary database calls. If you can join the table, do it always, right? So it can you can cover it with a 1 DB call other than sending multiple calls. And also avoid unnecessary conditions, right? So like for the best practice, you can use short circuiting method instead of condition checking part. So you can see there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines of codes, right? See in if I don't use short circuiting, I have to do it with 6 lines of code, right? So but with short circuiting, I did it with like 1 line of code. So I removed all those unnecessary code lines with to single line. So if you can if you can do this, do it always, right? So because we always use this when you are doing our project, so that's a best practice, right? So the other thing is error handling, right? Like proper error handling involves writing code to handle possible failure points in your application. So this increases the efficiency of the application, right? And you can improve the user experience by providing clear feedback when things go wrong. Okay, and if also the programmer can know what which part has the error. Okay, so programmer can fix it quickly, right? So in this, there's a problem in the code, but get the idea, right? So the last thing is security. So you must always think about the security of the app. Okay, when you're writing secure codes, it means actively protecting against vulnerabilities that could be exploited by attackers. So this includes input validations, secure data storage and transmission, right? So as example, here are disable button, right? So you know how to disable a button and you have good IWT project knowledge. So you can simply add disable keyword for the button and you can disable it. But the thing is, if you done this, anyone can inspect elements and remove the disable button and continue their work, right? So this is a security issue. So you must use proper validation logic for front end as well as back end, right? You must cover the back end as well. So also remember to use good folder structure, right? This will help developers to understand the project layout and the architecture, and also well-organized structure always improve the maintainability of project, and it means developer can quickly locate and modify the specific file without spending more time by searching it. Okay, I'll provide you some of the like this. Yes, you can use this folder structure for your, if you are using Node.js for backend, like Node.js with Express, you can use this folder structure, and also for Spring Boot, you can use this folder structure. Right, I'll provide this link after this session, and so okay, the next topic is testing, right? I'm not going to deeply explain this part, but you can definitely add test cases to your project. So in your project, at one point you need to evaluate and verify your project. So that part that part called testing, right? So you need to do these tests according to some guidelines. So there are some testing types in software engineering. So you can see unit test, system test, likewise. So uh, so and also these are importance of testing, right? So you can identify bugs in your system, and also you can give better UX means user experience, and also with test cases, and you can give more confidence about your product to your client, right? And also you can detect some bugs early. So it will help you to save your time and cost, right?
So the other thing is ensure quality, boosting customer cost and time efficiency, security and risk mitigation. Likewise, so you can get these benefits uh, when you add test cases to your project, right? So you can see there's a JUnit example. So in here, we will um, like compare expected output with actual output and get a result. Like that this test case show either test pass or fail, right? So uh, you can simply use these frameworks for your project. And all right, this is the last part in my session, and version control, right? So assume you have to work in a project with a team, right, where you have to work separately and get a finalized project. Like so this process you need to have method of combination. Like it's like we are working on a file like Google Doc. So everyone can work on a single file. So when you are working on an IT project, so each developer must work on their own function, right? So and it must be a combined with um, others, and also finally you must get a full integrated project, right? So you can try gathering all members files and add one by one to a project from your own, like you IW you in IW so you did, I think you did in IWT project. You gather all members files one by one and add uh, all together, right? And uh, and like definitely it will create many problems and errors, right? So when you try to do it in industry level project, and if you do it with your ITP, like you will end up like this. So it will create many bugs, right? So you don't want that. So far proper integration, so you must use a version control system. So uh, these are the benefits of using version control system, right? So in um, using a version control system, developers can work together from anywhere in the world, like without even physically meeting them, right? So actually I'm working in a fully remote company, and I haven't physically meet any of my team members, right? So also, as the important matter, you will see the full history of your project, right? So you can track who did the changes and when did the changes happen, likewise. So and while you are using version control for your project, and if you came across with any error, so if you can't figure out how this happened and unable to fix, so you can always retrieve your project to earlier stable version, right? So then you can fix your error by rollback by retrieving your project to the previous stable version, right? So uh, right. So like as we are talking about a version control system, so we need to use a software like Git. Okay, so for your ITP you can use the Git version control system. So Git basically makes connection between your local repository and your remote repository, right? So remote repository is a version of your project that has hosted on somewhere on the internet, right? You can use GitHub, GitLab, and Bitbucket, like well-based platforms to for this hosting process. And the remote, like it's like you have one copy of your project in your computer, right? So the other copy of in the so somewhere on the internet, like in GitHub, like GitLab, right? So if you uh, sometimes if you can lose your project in your local computer, but always you have your remote repository, right? Also the remote repository can access by your team members, and they can do changes, and also you can do changes likewise. And so uh, so almost most of them think Git and GitHub both are same, right? But that's not true. Right? Git is a distributed version control system, and Git used to track changes, right? So on the other hand, GitHub is web-based platform that provide hosting for Git repositories. So GitHub is a service built around the JIT, and it offers additional features to facilitate and collaborate, code review and project management, and it provides a centralized location for store JIT repositories, like right. So that's one of the JIT features, right? So GitHub has way more than services. I think Saira has mentioned like JIT actions, right? So besides storing JIT repositories, you will learn them uh, when you get basic knowledge of GitHub, right? So for this ITP, you will get a SLIIT organization's remote repository, and all your 8 members must clone that repository and do the changes, right? So, and I also met your batchmate last week, and she said like that you have already submitted your charter with 8 functions, and always try to avoid depending functions, right? So because it will cause the conflicts of your project, right? So always avoid depending functions and choose functions independently. And also we are in limited time, and so these topics are huge and it will take more time to cover, right? So I'll provide you a link, uh, this blog article that was written by me, and yeah. So it will cover the basics of JIT and how we initialize a repository or push existing project to GitHub, and how to commit our changes and push them to GitHub, right? So this is a beginner guide, and it will perfectly explain GitHub for the ground level. So you can refer this, and also the main thing is practice these things, right? So practice is the key to be a good developer, and also you can get uh, knowledge, like you can get better knowledge than reading, right? So also you can uh, look into this MS Club of SLIIT YouTube channel, and you can get the the knowledge, more knowledge than this, like how to do branching and how to switch branches from the previous ITP. So like in this video, so in this playlist, they, they are covering all these topics. So I'll provide all these links at the end of my session. And I think, yeah, I think that's the end of my, sorry. But yeah, that's the end of my session. And thank you everyone for joining. And special thanks to MS Club for this opportunity. And also I wish you all the best for your IT project and your future, right? So I provide this link after the next session. And thank you everyone. Okay, bye.